Welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. This one's going to look a little different, it's going to feel a little different, and it's going to sound a little different. I was fortunate enough to have a booth at the NRA annual meetings, Radio Row, which is something new the NRA is doing at their annual meetings. I was able to do a number of audio-only interviews, and what you're about to hear is one of those. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. If you're listening to the show in podcast form, please leave a positive review. And if you like the show, share it with your friends, because that is how we get the Stagecoach across America. All right, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. This is a quick pit stop. We are recording some shows from the NRA annual meetings in Atlanta 2025. And my next guest is Philip Toppino, who is with WOFT. And I've heard there's 3 different names for this.
Yes, many.
And I don't know which one's the right one.
Unofficial. Yeah. No, it's a box of chocolates.
Right.
Every one of them. No, started off as West Orlando Firearms training.
Yeah.
And then it morphed into where our families train.
I love that. That's awesome.
And then we have other unofficial nicknames that we don't talk about. Dinah Miller gave us.
Oh, great. So tell us about WOFT. Because what I know is I've seen all my friends go down there and train, and they've done the Ambassador Academy and all sorts of other cool things. And everyone comes back and rants and raves about it. And they're like, "You got to get down there." I'm like, I got to start selling feed pictures. Like,
yes. It's a custom learning experience. Something I couldn't find around the country, so I made my own. We're a 20-acre private facility, so we can control our own view, if you will.
Yeah.
And we started an organic learning experience based on safety concepts and how each person apply those concepts. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I'm going to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you some things, and then how you apply it depends on how we guide you as you are applying them real time. So it makes it a custom learning experience that no one else is doing and nothing else is like it.
Well, that's incredible. So what kind of stuff, besides everything, because everything's not the right answer, what kind of stuff you guys have? You've got force on force, you've got scenario training, you do stuff. I was hanging out with Tony Simon the other night. He showed us the video of him doing the low light training where they're like, "Okay, listen, we got somebody from the media here, Tony, don't swear." And then his New Jersey comes out.
Yep. No, it's the world can be a very dangerous place. So we focus on safety concepts, and we allow people to bring their family and learn collectively and give some people experience, so that the first time they experience a transient in a situational, area, that it's not the first time. It gives them some experience, so they react and think and react faster under stress. Talking about Mr. Tony over there.
I know. Speak of the devil, and no. Yeah, Tony, He shall appear.
No, full service. So we really, our bread and butter is force on force, UTM, learning how to think and react faster under stress, and learning how to avoid potential bad things that could happen. Mm-hmm. And then the legality of the before, during, and after. So if you're not doing scenario training properly, if you're not talking about the legality of it. So we're very happy with a lot of our partners. We've been working with a lot of people over the years, but we're really happy with the team we have now with Firearms Legal Protection and X Insurance and a bunch of other people that really allow us to do what we're doing.
That's fantastic. The before and after. I mean, everyone thinks they have the before under control, right? You pay attention to your surroundings, your carry tools, knives, guns, spare mags, extra ammo, all that sort of stuff. The after is always the tricky part, right? It's the whole. What do you say after you get arrested? If let's say you're involved in an incident and you had to use a firearm to protect yourself, we hear everything from "don't say anything" to "I want to talk to my lawyer," and you don't talk to anybody else. Or I heard someone say this a few months ago. They said the worst thing to say is, "I was in fear for my life. I'm having a cardiac arrest. I need to go to the hospital."
The beautiful thing is that a lot of companies, and you've seen this, and we're on, only on audio, but bringing out one of their cards that you can read, and it tells you what to do and what to say. But we practice that, so we reverse engineer and role play that, because when you're not only in a situation, but in the moment of that situation, not using excessive force.
Mhm.
People don't realize how they're going to react until they get put in a situation. We play pretend as real as possible. So that is the magic of what we do is, depending on the tools, depending on a situation for yourself, we recreate that in a safe atmosphere. Like imagine a movie set where we sterilize it, we make it safe, and then we insert you into that movie set, and then we hit play. And you can be the person of attention. You can be a bad person. You could be someone who's just witnessing. How good of a witness can you be? So how much information can you take in at one time?
Right.
And then memory testing, and then recalling what just happened real time in the debrief, and then collectively people that are with you, what'd you see? What'd you see? And they're like, oh, this guy came over and said this. And it's like, what'd you see? And people go, I don't remember. The adrenaline affects them differently, and they don't realize it until they get put in that situation. So it's really neat. And law enforcement and military, they appreciate the experience without the threat of harm. And scenario training done properly, purpose-based learning does just that.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, like I said, with Tony's incident, they said don't swear. We got somebody from the media here, and stuff started going down. He's calling everybody names, right?
When it's real.
Yeah, and then they said they went out to eat afterwards, and like, do you remember saying this? He's like, I have no idea. He's like, I don't remember saying anything. They're like, yeah, you were, you sounded like Samuel L. Jackson, and he's like, I have no clue.
We talk about a lot that it's different being upstairs and downstairs because our second floor observation is where you get to watch. And since everything's in front of you and you're up top, everything's good. You're behind the Lexan, but when you come down on the floor, that's where it's like anything can happen at any time. And what makes us different than, let's say, any type of military or law enforcement experience is that a lot of times they're limited to what they can do based on liability. Meaning that if you're going through a scenario training and you're in the law enforcement, if you do something that they're not expecting, they typically call the scenario because they don't want you to get hurt. You're making a left instead of a right, and they stop, come back, do it this way. When I was growing up, I was afraid of haunted houses, right? And as I got older, I realized, oh, they can't touch me. So there's a lot of training scars when it comes to any type of training. They're potential training scars, especially with scenario training, because if you know that I can't touch you, you're going to start to game it.
Different, right?
If you don't have the right gear on, you know that I can't touch you. I'm not going to get close to you because you might palm strike or you might do something that might. And if we don't have the right gear, it's just, okay, Charlie, just imagine this. Just picture this. It's like, no, we spare no expense, and we have a 2-to-1, and in scenarios it's inverted. It's a 7-to-1 instructor to student ratio because I have to set the theme.
Right.
Because if you know there's 2 instructors, you're going to walk in and say, "There's Philip. Where's the other one?" And you're gonna game it.
Yeah, totally. So
when I was traveling the country, I would go to these places and be like, man, this would be great if they just did this, this, and this. And oh, geez, that'd be great. But I can't just imagine this. I have to be immersed in it. So that's the potential of what makes our training life-changing, is that we spare no expense, and we're expensive, but it's because we have all the right gear and all the right stuff, so that with your valuable time, we can guarantee the best experience. And it's something that, again, there's no business model for it. This is what I wanted. This is what I would go places, and I felt like they were leaving stuff on the table. So with your valuable time, I am obsessed and passionate about giving you the best possible experience that you can also do with your family and people that you care about. And you learn collectively like a think tank,
right, with
everyone. And then with the proper gear, you can be as safe. And then, again, we go hands-on. Anything can happen at any time. So you walk in there and you're going, man, I'm a little nervous. What is this? And you're going, well, it's because someone can walk up and grab you. Yeah. And, depending if you have any boo-boos, if you have any pre-existing conditions, we take all that into consideration, but we are fully licensed and insured so that it puts you in the proper mindset to react as naturally as you would. So gosh forbid, if something bad does happen in real life, you're going to get as close to that moment with that adrenaline. And then the fact that we're asking you to recall what just happened helps reprogram your brain and take in more information under stress and not be in harm's way. So it's like, that's where the people from the military and law enforcement, when they see what we're doing and they actually come and attend, they're like, this is amazing.
This is not what we had, right?
This is not what we had. Right. Yeah. Right. And so it's just, again, it's something that we're trailblazing, and the perception out there is that other people are doing it, and they're not.
The things that I think are really cool. I've seen some of the again. I've seen pictures and photos and videos. It looks like you have. It looks like a whole town.
Yeah. We're on 20 acres. We have a very efficient 6 acres. We have 9 different stations that we have been developing over the last 9 years now at our location. When you come to visit, we can break you up via skill set. So you're not going to be put, depending on what you want to learn, depending on, everything from empty hand to blade training to long gun to handgun to, situational combatives to precision rifle to, just the gamut. And then we have subject matter experts. So I bring in world-class folks and they are guest instructors. And that's how WOFT got started. We were a fantasy shooting camp combined with scenario training. So, we went to the NSSF, the first, fantasy shooting camp with them way back in 2000, I think 15, 16, maybe 17. And they had Jerry, Mitchlick, and Kay, and Diana, and Ryan, and Casey, and Jesse, and all of them ended up coming to WOFT after, me inviting them. And that's the kind of horsepower that we had at WOFT on the range. And then we would do scenario training, and then they would anchor the handgun ranges. So that's how we got started. And so since then, now we bring in subject matter experts for anything you want to learn. So when you come to us at one time, each day is broken up into before lunch and after lunch. So before lunch, it's a 3.5 hour block, and you'll be learning whatever concept that you're interested in. And then after lunch, we break and you take another 3.5 hour block. And the more days you give us, the more stuff we can show you. And we're your guide to make you a better version of yourself, depending on what state you live in, depends on what the debrief comes back to.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So we have FLP has one of their, subject matter experts that are there, and we take the registration from our class and we look up, oh, you're from Utah. Oh, you're from Arizona. Oh, you're from Georgia. And then during the scenarios, then we custom cater even further the use of force of what would happen where you have duty retreat, you don't.
Right.
So that's the kind of neat stuff that with UTM, there are no training scars. You practice as real as you carry. Appendix outside the waistband, you name it. And then with all the proper gear. And then we give you that thing where it's like, look, if you apply the safety concepts, nothing might happen. Right. That's what's more likely to happen is nothing.
Right. Having the debrief from Firearm Legal Protection, being the guy from Massachusetts, I'm like, it'll be really quick. They're like, yeah, you're screwed. You're done. So thanks for coming. Well, hope you had a good time.
The cool part, and I learn everything every day, learn new stuff every day. But X Insurance can insure you anywhere.
Really?
Yeah,
that's very cool.
They can insure you for a firearm in New York City.
Wow.
Because X Insurance is like they specialize in insuring things that are uninsurable, and so they're just at a different level. It's not the same as we're prepaid legal and then we're buying something. It's like they're at that Lloyd's of London. We can write any policy we want. It's just expensive, but it's the best. So when you have something that is worth
protecting,
too big to fail, right? Yeah. So that's the thing where with us, that is what's allowed me to just, I wouldn't say take the governor off, but that's allowed me to really go into places that other places can't because of liability. Mm-hmm. The fact that I own the property and then I'm properly insured. So there's no gaps because you have in firearms insurance, as you know, you have general liability.
Right.
And that's 2-dimensionally. You're standing there and it's great. Like whatever you would think of an indoor gun range is what you're allowed to do.
Right.
And then you have the MMA boxing insurance, which is way over here. Mm-hmm. That, if we're going empty hand, jiu-jitsu, rolling, but the moment you start to blend those two, neither of them will pay in a claim. So it's like you have to have something special for scenario training. So everyone else that attempts to do purpose-based learning with scenario training, they're naked.
Wow.
If they have one insurance or the other, they don't have, and nothing.
They don't have the full coverage.
If they ever have a claim, nothing. They won't. So the dirt they're standing on is who's going to get sued, not the people training. So that's the other part where it's like we're trying to set a higher standard of quality, and we're right now the first person through the door is bloody. So we're paying an exception amount of premium for a policy that doesn't exist anywhere else because they made it for us. But ultimately, the goal is to really share what we're doing it, how we're doing it, so that we can have more of a pool and a higher standard of safety. Mm-hmm. Because our standards, Ken Murray, a good friend of mine, mentor of mine, wrote Training at the Speed of Life. And we've adopted a lot of all of his safety protocol they use for the military when they're using munitions and firearms that can eat whatever you put in them. So it's one of those things that we just want to set a higher standard. We're doing God's work. We're helping people, and we're changing the world one at a time. And there's some really neat things that we're doing with regards to an appropriation. And the appropriation is the big thing, probably the biggest thing here on your show first, because I haven't talked about it with anybody else yet, is that we have 4 counties in our area have been approved, and we are going to, in the next 6 months, start teacher safety scenario training in schools.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I did, what did I do? In 2021, I did a class at in Ohio with Faster Saves Lives.
Yeah,
and that was the first time I took in a lot of force on force. And it's not necessarily it is force on force, but it's not force on force. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's scenario training, and it was pretty cool to me because they would, like, the first time you ran through, you have 2 days of gun stuff, and the third day you go into a school and do everything else. They would teach you what to do, and the first scenario you run through, they're like, okay, cool, we're good to go. And then the next time you run through, and of course you get to be a student, and you get to kind of game things out. And well, when I do this, we do some debriefing afterwards, and you say, hey, this is what that person did. Well, here's what I'm going to do when it's my turn. And then you never get to run that scenario. You go to another one,
sure, and
then they play it out a little bit further. They're like, okay, cool, you shot the bad guy. What do you do now? And you're like, I forgot.
Scenario training is the absolute best way to learn everything in anything.
Yeah.
And to done properly, purpose-based, that's the key. Is there's a lot of people out there that they see what's going on. They just try to mimic it like a parrot, but without purpose-based learning, you could be setting people up to use excessive force. So it's a tremendous potential and tremendous advantage, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with scenario training done properly.
Yeah.
And they get into more entertainment than it does the purpose.
Right.
And so to make sure it's safe in the right gear, and then, basically really you want to focus on people. Listen, the biggest value I give people is that was excessive and you could have done this. In the heat of the moment, I know you did that, but you could have done this.
Right.
And giving them that experience. Okay, let's run it again. Let's do attentive repetition. So we'll do something similar to it, but give you a chance to apply all the things you didn't do last time. That's the difference. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to have you go to your car and apply these safety concepts, and then what you do on your first run determines what we do on your second run, which then determines what we do on your third run, and then your fourth run. So each time we're resetting, but you're not seeing the same thing twice.
Right. So
and
you
then
can't play, like you said, you can't game it. You can't plan for it.
You look for pre-fight indicators, simply react to it. And what's more likely to happen is nothing. And so you might walk in and nothing happens, but you're walking around all crazy and you're looking and you look silly because you're going, that's not how you would normally walk to your car.
Right.
So you look for things unusual. When you see something unusual, give it more attention. And it's as simple as those fundamentals, but we hard focus on those fundamentals.
Yeah.
And it's life-changing.
Very cool. Awesome. I know we're getting close to time here. How often do you guys do classes?
It's going to get crazy because, like I told you, it was the teacher appropriation. This is something to where right now we're around 11 to 14 classes a year. And we do, like you heard, the Ambassador Academy with Diana Muller and Ryan. Yep. They're awesome. They're family. And, we're a boutique. So Heckler & Koch has courses with us. SIG has had some of their chalk events with us. And so we're a boutique, and we can customize to whomever, because again, with scenario training, it doesn't matter what firearm I use.
Right.
It doesn't matter. So we can theme the entire property. And then in between those, we do by appointments only, but it's going to be something that this next year is going to be
taken off.
With the appropriation. There are 30,000 teachers just in our 4-county area, and we're not going to be able. We're going to be devising and coming up with new ways to bring that kind of value to them in a short period of time. And we're just really excited, and we're excited for the challenge.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, listen, we need to wrap it up. Where can people find everything that has to do with WOFT?
I overpaid for a website. WOFT.com, like
Right.
WOFT.com.
Right. You don't have to spell it out.
You don't have to spell it out, just WOFT.
WOFT.
Yeah. And it was like, it was act of Congress to get that. And then with social media nowadays, it's, but no, WOFT.com. And people find out us most of the time it's just word of mouth and referral, similar to you, where they go, oh, I've been this. Oh, you have. Oh,
yeah. You got to go check it out.
You've got your kid, your grandkid's going to be driving soon. This is going to be happening. They have to have this experience. You don't want them to be out there in the real world without some experience, and that's what we cater to.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, Philip, thank you so much for being on. The pleasure was mine. I'm glad we finally got a chance to talk. I know we've talked a few times in the past before about trying to set something up and do a car interview, but we haven't been able to make that happen. I haven't made it down to Ambassador Academy.
I know.
It's this whole day job thing, man.
I know.
That's the big problem.
It's tough. Next year, put it on the calendar now.
I do. This is kind of funny. So I just before SHOT Show, I was talking with Amanda Suffolcool, and she's often one of the instructors.
Yeah.
So she asked me, she's like, hey, I'm going to Ambassador Academy. And I had her, she was checking out I was doing some one sheets.
Okay.
And I was getting her to sign off on them, right? And is this going to be okay? And then she's like, yeah, this is great. Can I use this down at WOFT? Yeah, of course. And then somebody sends me a picture. They're like, hey, they used your picture in the presentation. I'm like, oh yeah, the one where I screwed things up. Perfect. I'm glad I can be a bad example for you.
Where it takes a village, we want safety for everyone. We've stumbled upon a new learning experience that is someone that has no experience and someone that doesn't even like firearms. Everybody wants safety. So that's our message, that we have been able to bring value to everyone. We've had people there that are anti-gun Democrats that come to us, and they're like, everyone still wants safety.
Right.
And that allows us to a level playing field to bring them value, and then they start to be more open to potentially learning new things. And that's the country needs more education, and we're going to be the flagship for that.
I can't wait to get down myself. All right. Well, listen, thank you guys for tuning in and listening to this Riding Shotgun with Charlie pit stop. Again, our guest was Philip Toppino from WOFT.com, where our families train.
Yeah.
Where our firearms train. Nice job, Charlie. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll talk to you later.